The story is best experienced with headphones. The audio may include loud sounds and creepy moments. Viewer discretion is advised. If you are ready, grab a cup of tea or a warm drink, kick back, relax, pick up your art supplies, and immerse yourself in the world of Croatian folklore. When Damir's wife left, she took the children, all the good coffee mugs, and the ability to find any object in the house on the first try. The last thing she said before closing the door was, "You seriously need help," which was unfair because Damir had already planned getting help. Eventually. Maybe. The apartment felt odd without her. Damir could never find what he was looking for anymore, as if he had never truly known where they kept things in the first place. It was all so far too quiet, to the point where he caught himself whispering apologies to furniture whenever he bumped into it. The first thing he couldn't find was the can opener. Damir searched everywhere, every drawer, every cupboard, even in the bathroom, as if there were any reasonable explanation for taking it into the shower. There was no luck. And in the end, he opened a can of beans with a knife, cut his finger, and bled slowly into the sink like a man in a very low-budget horror movie. But this was not where Damir's story ended. When he woke up the next morning, the can opener was back. It sat in the middle of the kitchen table, clean, polished, almost as if it was poking fun at him and his failed marriage. Damir frowned at it. "Okay," he said. "Sure." Things escalated after that. His favorite football team was playing that night. He reached out next to him to change the program, but the remote wasn't there. It vanished during the football game. And of course, he found it later tucked into his winter boot. But he had absolutely no idea how it got there. Was he finally losing his mind? His favorite spoon grew slightly more bent with each passing day. His phone charger migrated between rooms, sometimes hanging from the door handles, sometimes hidden beneath couch pillows. Either way, Damir began keeping a list. Things that moved today. Keys, wallet, toothbrush, 3-day streak, lighter. I stopped smoking, but it's still rude. He blamed the stress, because that was the only reason that kept him sane. Divorce stress was famous for this sort of thing, right? Maybe his ex-wife was right, and he truly needed help. Maybe, just maybe, it was finally time for him to book an appointment with a psychiatrist. He reached for his phone to Google psychiatrists in my area. But his phone wasn't there. Damir sighed deeply. "I'll deal with it tomorrow," he muttered, turning over and closing his eyes. And then there was a weird noise. A faint squeaking echoed from above. He was pretty sure it wasn't mice. It was too rhythmic, too expressive. He was refusing to react to it. But then he heard the sound of dragging slippers across the floor. And at that point, he jolted out shouting, "Hey!" The dragon stopped, then resumed, faster. The neighbors started noticing Damir changing. The downstairs neighbors cornered him by the mailbox one evening. "Are you alright? I keep hearing weird sounds at odd hours of the night." "I'm fine," Damir said. But the deep under eyes were telling another story. The neighbor nodded the way people nod when they don't believe you, but don't want more homework. And soon, the whole building was talking about how their neighbor Damir was going insane. He argued with objects. Damir muttered to himself. Damir accused the fridge of betrayal. Someone claimed he saw Damir kneeling in the hallway at night, praying, "Please, give it back. I need that." The reason for the divorce was now clear to Damir. It was him. The worst incident happened on a Sunday. Damir decided to invite his brother over to watch the football game, was his excuse. But he really wanted to prove to himself that nothing strange was happening, and he was sane. He cleaned obsessively, counted everything. He even took pictures of the apartment and where he left things, such as the TV remote, beforehand as evidence. They sat on the couch. The football match played on TV, making the silence slightly more bearable. Damir's brother, Goran, leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "So," he said, not looking away from the screen, "how are you holding up?" "Fine," Damir said immediately. He bit his lip. He should have waited 2 seconds before replying. "Actually, better than fine." Goran glanced around. The apartment was spotless, unnaturally so. You cleaned?" Damir nodded. "I had time." The match went on. The team played terribly, and at halftime, Damir reached for the remote. It was gone. His heart dropped into his stomach. Slowly, carefully, he looked at the coffee table. Nothing. He checked the couch cushions by tapping his hands, as if not to alert his brother of the strange escape of the TV remote. But Goran noticed. You lost something?" "No," Damir said. "Just, checking." He stood up. Probably too fast. "I'll grab the beers." In the kitchen, Damir opened the fridge and found the remote sitting neatly on the middle shelf, right next to the milk. He stared at it, and the fridge hummed innocently. Damir picked up the remote, closed the fridge, and leaned his forehead against the door. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay." When he returned to the living room, he placed the remote on the table with deliberate care. "There it is. There it is," he said. Goran raised an eyebrow. "Was it cold?" Damir laughed loudly, maybe too loudly. You know how it is. Muscle memory, probably. I put it in there. The second half of the match passed normally. Nothing moved, nothing squeaked. Damir began to relax a little. Maybe it really was stress. Goran left shortly after the game concluded. At the door, he turned around and looked at his brother. His tired face with deep under eyes. "Listen," he said. "If you need to talk to someone, I'm fine," Damir said, interrupting him before he could even finish his sentence. Goran nodded and gave him a little pat on his shoulder before he awkwardly left. Damir locked the door and leaned against it. The silence filled the apartment again, thicker than before. He stood there for a moment, contemplating. Then he walked back to the living room and saw it. His keys were laid out on the floor, not scattered as if someone dropped them. They were arranged. A neat little spiral, starting small and widening outward, as if someone took their time to arrange it. For some reason, Damir instinctively looked at the coffee table, where he knew he left the TV remote. And to no one's surprise, the remote was not on the table. And then he looked down, and there it was, the TV remote. But it was moving, as if it was being dragged across the floor, very slowly. Damir rushed to it. "Hey!" he exclaimed. The dragon stopped, and Damir took another step forward. The TV remote slightly shifted, and underneath it stood a small, fur-covered creature. His little whiskers twitching while its big googly eyes were staring at Damir, almost like it was waiting to see what he would do. Still clutching the TV remote in its tiny paws. A moment of silence. The two stared at each other. The Bajkač squeaked. Damir blinked. "Seriously?" he said. The Bajkač hesitated, then tried to pull the remote back behind the stand, inch by inch, pretending nothing was wrong. "Oh no, 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 no," Damir said, stepping closer. "Absolutely not. That's the third time today." The Bajkač squeaked louder, offended. Now up close, Damir could see the creature better. It was barely 30 centimeters tall, round and covered in a multicolor fur, wearing scraps of clothing stitched together from what's probably Damir's stolen old clothes. To his surprise, it looked less like a demon and more like a raccoon hamster that had just discovered laundry. "You've been doing this," Damir said. The Bajkač chattered in response. "That was my brother here today, you know?" Damir reprimanded, with a tone he'd probably use with his children. The Bajkač froze in response. "You almost got me institutionalized," Damir continued, as he stared at the creature. The Bajkač slowly let go of the remote and slid it back toward Damir's foot. Damir stared at it, then at the creature. Then Damir laughed in disbelief. My wife leaves, he said, rubbing his face. And I get robbed by a folkloric hamster. The Bajkač squeaked, now proudly. Damir picked up the remote and sat back down on the couch. Listen, he said, pointing at it. You can hide the charger. You can bend the spoon. I don't care. The Bajkač tilted its head. But this? Damir shook the remote. This is sacred, you understand? The Bajkač stared at him for a moment, then turned and waddled away toward the hallway, chattering softly. Damir watched it disappear. He leaned back, exhaled, and shook his head. I'm so still booking that psychiatrist appointment, he muttered. From the other room, he could hear now two very offended squeaks.